Quick note on the thumbnail, that is a dorid nudibranch, lovely animal, wrong body plan. This episode is about the aolids, the ones with finger-like serrata full of stolen venom. The AI did not check anyway, and that is also a dorid. Broad mantle, feathery gills, no serrata. The aolid we are actually discussing looks nothing like this, but I will work with what the AI gave me. There is a sea slug that eats venomous animals, digests their entire body, and then somehow keeps the stinging cells alive and moves them intact into its own skin. It does not build its own weapons. It has found a better supplier. The slug is about 1 centimeter long, has no shell, no bones, no spine, and no apparent reason to be this dangerous. It looks like someone dropped a piece of psychedelic jewelry into the ocean and the jewelry started committing crimes. The nudibranch, the name means naked gills, which is the most literal thing science has ever done for naming. About 3,000 known species, all marine, all soft-bodied, all wearing their respiratory organs on the outside like someone who lost a bet. Some of them look like tiny dragons, some look like Spanish dancers mid-flamenco, some look like a skittle that gained sentience and immediately chose violence. They are gastropods, technically snails. Snails that threw away the shell after the larval stage and said, no, I'm going to be soft and naked in the ocean, and I'm going to make that everyone else's problem. Also, they are hermaphrodites. Every nudibranch can mate with every other nudibranch. They do this via reciprocal sperm exchange, which sounds like a banking term, but is in fact exactly what it sounds like. Here's where it gets structurally improbable. The aolid nudibranches eat hydrozoans and sea anemones. These are saturdarians, animals armed with nematocysts, microscopic harpoon cells that fire on contact and inject venom. Most things that touch a sea anemone get stung. The nudibranch eats the entire animal. It digests the body, the tissue, the nutrients, the organs, but somehow through a mechanism that is still not fully understood, it does not trigger the nematocysts. Those labels are hex color codes, not anatomy. This is supposed to be a serrata cross-section with nematocysts. It is not moving on. It passes them intact and still loaded through its own digestive tract and moves them into finger-like projections on its back called serrata. The stinging cells end up at the tips functional, ready to fire, stolen. This is called kleptocnidae, literally stolen stinging cells. The nudibranch has outsourced its entire weapons program to its prey. Quick disclosure, this is an Ecology Unpacked episode. There is no chain that ends with the nudibranch filtering your water or pollinating your lunch. The nudibranch does not work for you. What it does instead is eat venomous animals, steal their weapons at the cellular level, install those weapons in its own skin, and then dress up in neon to advertise the stolen goods. Most of this channel is about ecosystem services because most species earn their keep that way. This one earns its keep by being the most audacious thief in the ocean. The wonder is the point. Stay with me. And it gets weirder. Close relatives of the nudibranch, the sacoglossan sea slugs, do the same thing with plants. They eat algae, digest everything except the chloroplasts, and keep the chloroplasts alive inside their own tissue. For weeks, the slug photosynthesizes. It is a solar-powered animal running on stolen hardware. Biologists call this kleptoplasty, and if you are keeping count, that is now 2 separate lineages of sea slug that have independently figured out how to steal the most useful organelle from their food and keep it running. The nudibranches are not, as a group, considered endangered. Most species have not been individually assessed by the IUCN, partly because there are 3,000 of them, and partly because they are small, soft, and extremely hard to census. What we know is that they are sensitive to ocean acidification because their prey, the cnidarians, are sensitive to ocean acidification. Coral reefs and hydroid colonies are the substrate. When the substrate declines, the specialist predators on that substrate decline with it. This is not hypothetical. The documented bleaching events on the Great Barrier Reef between 2016 and 2024 destroyed reef habitat that supported dozens of specialist nudibranch species. We do not have population numbers for most of them. We do not have baselines. We are watching a library burn, and we have not finished the card catalog. The deeper problem is what we lose scientifically. Kleptocnidae is one of the most elegant examples of cellular co-option in the animal kingdom. It is a living case study of how evolution solves the cost of biological complexity by stealing it. If you wanted to design a gene therapy delivery system or understand how cells can be transplanted without triggering an immune response, the nudibranch is sitting right there doing it in real time with no grant funding. Losing that research subject before we understand the mechanism is not just an ecological loss, it is an engineering loss. I think the thing that gets me about nudibranchs is the audacity of the entire project. A soft, shellless, boneless animal looked at the most heavily armed organisms in the ocean and said, I will eat you and I will keep your weapons. And then it worked, and then just to make sure everyone knew, it turned bright orange. Thanks for watching. If you want more of whatever this was, subscribe. I will be here talking about organisms that have no business being this interesting. See you next time.